After gaining more than 30% in a matter of 48 hours, what is in store for Hedera? Well, that's what we're going to talk about right now by looking at that daily chart for HBAR. And then later on in the video, you'll want to stick around as we talk about the future of Bitcoin. And I show you some proof as to which way Bitcoin is headed next. All right, let's just start here. After we broke this very critical level a couple of days ago in Hedera, this was roughly around 0.085. Hedera did not really what I expected. I expected after we broke this level, it would go up and challenge the most recent high right here back in January. It did challenge it and immediately broke through it and continued on upward. This was the candle 2 days ago now. This daily candle just opened and this daily candle just closed. As you can see, we are giving back some gains since this fantastic run up, and we've kind of seen that across the altcoins lately. Earlier today, Bitcoin, you can see, actually dropped down to a low, and this is the previous day's bar, dropped down to a low below 51,000. So that was pulling the altcoins down. Most of the altcoins over the past day, there's VET for an example, there's ADA for an example, really struggled as the market got softer. Bitcoin is the fuel that fuels these altcoins. And as Bitcoin continues to go up, or when Bitcoin goes up, these altcoins tend to follow on their own schedule. Sometimes a few days later, sometimes a few weeks later, it just depends. But the altcoins generally go up after Bitcoin does. But when Bitcoin stalls, the first weakness you generally see is in the altcoins. And since Bitcoin has been stalling right here around 52,000, in fact, over the past week, we are in a decided range. Since Bitcoin has been ranging over the past week, the altcoins, many of them have started not really giving back gains. What's the word I'm looking for? Drifting. That's the word. They have started drifting downwards, and HBAR has as well. There is absolutely no long-term concern here. It's just a matter of the altcoins reacting to what Bitcoin is doing. But Bitcoin, as you can see, actually, after falling down to about 51,000, went up to its most recent high. Let's see if it broke it. Its high was 53,015. And the high here was 52,884. So it did go to a more recent high today or the previous day. And so it recovered nicely. And so the altcoins, we'll just have to wait and see. A little bit of indecision right here as Bitcoin holds at 52,000. But it's a great indicator that Bitcoin is holding at the very top. That's fantastic. So absolutely no concern for HBAR. I did want to do a little research here. I wanted to see if there was a reason that HBAR stopped right there where it did. So I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to make it a different color so it stands out for a second. Let's just make it blue. And then I want to go back in its history and see if there's any reason HBAR stopped there. I don't see anything interesting there. Nothing terribly interesting here. There are some wicks around this level. So it might just be that is where HBAR stopped. And there's perfectly fine as well. I do have these levels here. You can see these red levels. Let me make this bigger. And I want to scoot over here. I do have these red levels here, right around 10.108 and 0.127. They are not exact. They're just, it's an art, not a science. But these levels are here because of the top of this wick and the bottom of this wick. That's this level. And this level is here because of the top of this wick. And the only real close wick I see right here is back in February 21, right around this blue level. It's of real no value, of real no concern. I just wanted to see if I was missing something obvious as far as why HBAR stopped there, and I don't see anything terribly obvious. It stopped there because that's where it stopped. But it may be a noted level here soon, and we'll watch as the market moves back up if that becomes any type of resistance. Okay, I think I've already mentioned in the long term, HBAR is a fantastic coin in my opinion, and will be just fine. It's going to follow Bitcoin. And to that end, let's talk about Bitcoin really quick. I've already mentioned that it is holding and wrestling right here at 52,000. But I do want to talk about the market in general. So what I'm going to do is go over to this tweet from Bitcoin Magazine. And it says last week, and it's talking about the previous week, obviously, last week had the largest weekly inflows into Bitcoin ETFs, those that were approved in January, on record. So the largest inflows on record at $2.45 billion. This is the bar indicating the 2.45 billion. And as you can see, it's almost twice as much as the previous largest bar. So the fact of the matter is last week, $2.45 billion of new money came into Bitcoin. As long as that continues with $300, $400, $500 million a day, it's just a matter of supply and demand, and Bitcoin is more than likely going to continue up. We do have the halving we have to wrestle with. Not wrestle with, that's going to be right here around the 20th of April. That's what this indicates. Not really wrestle with because the halving is generally a very bullish event. But the fact of the matter is, historically, before the halving, we have a run up in Bitcoin, which we are seeing now. And then about a month to 6 weeks before the halving, we can start seeing a retrace of anywhere from 10, 20, 30, upward to 40% we've seen in the past. In this environment, I don't think we'll see 40%. At the most, I think we would see 20, which would put us right around this level right here where we might consolidate and take off. So that would be between 40 and 45. If Bitcoin reacts the way it historically has before the halving. So if we do see a decline, don't get nervous. It's just the historical behavior of Bitcoin, and it's expected after a large move upward like this. But I've already mentioned the supply-demand problem. Fun fact, did you know that 80% of Bitcoin has not been traded in the past 6 months? And that makes sense. If you own Bitcoin, why would you sell Bitcoin? So all of this money flowing into Bitcoin right now is not flowing into 100% of Bitcoin. There's only 20% of the supply of Bitcoin available to be bought and sold. And that's why there's limited supply. And that's why prices are staying at the top of these levels, even though Bitcoin is, by all general measures, is extended at this point on the daily chart. That's Bitcoin. I also wanted to mention this to talk about the strength of Bitcoin here. I also follow Rect Capital on Twitter, and he shared a very interesting tweet here. And we're going to talk about this chart here. Historically, Bitcoin tends to break its 4-year cycle resistance in black in the halving year, candle 4. Okay, so we got 4-year cycles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here is the resistance levels for that time period for these 4 years. Here is the noted in black, the resistance levels for these 4 years, and noted in black, the resistance levels currently in this 4-year cycle that we are in the 4th year of. This cycle is no different in that regard. And the fact is, the 4th year broke the resistance. In the 4th year, we broke the resistance. In the 4th year, we broke the resistance. So that's what it means. This cycle is no different. However, it is the first time ever that Bitcoin has broken this resistance in the pre-halving period. As I've already mentioned, we have not experienced the halving yet. That's scheduled or estimated to happen in April. So yes, we broke the resistance in the 4th year, but it was after the halving. Yes, we broke the resistance in the 4th year, but it was after the halving. Here in this cycle, we have already broken the resistance pre-halving. That just goes to show how strong Bitcoin is and why some are questioning even if we're going to get this retrace at all. And if we get any, will it be the severity of 20%? So that's something you need to watch for in the long term. If you're holding HBAR, all that I mentioned is frankly irrelevant, because in the long term, HBAR is going to do fine. Bitcoin's going to do fine. That's going to be fantastic years in 24 and 25. But if you're new to the game or have a tendency to get nervous or see red bars, or let's say Bitcoin starts slipping down to 45,000 and HBAR comes down here and starts retesting this, don't panic. Newer traders tend to panic, and sometimes I panic and I hold, right? So sometimes I'm panicking like, oh my gosh, look at my coin. It's just terribly falling. What do I do? Well, the answer right now in 2024 and 2025 is if you're in a quality coin, you don't do anything, right? You hold, or add to if you have more deployable capital. So if we do drift down, Bitcoin drifts down, whatever, don't get nervous and don't do anything rash. Right now, we are in a perfect position to hold. And if you've been in HBAR the last couple of days, you are still up a good percentage. And this bar looks fantastic. We'll find out if the altcoins can recover, since it looks like Bitcoin is still going to stay right around 52,000, at least for the time being. All right, that is my update on HBAR. I hope you enjoyed it. I will make more videos on Hedera. Be sure to stay tuned and keep in touch.